May your life not be monotonous after watching this video, may there be renewal through the power of your faith. We all go through difficult times, we all go through the desert. There's no escaping it. The question is, who are you on bad days? To answer this question, let's look at the story of Gideon, one of the early judges of Israel. In Judges 6 verse 1, it says, "But the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Midian for 7 years." This chapter talks about a time when the life of the people of Israel was very tough. They endured 7 years of oppression by the Midianites. It was 7 years of extreme misery, planting only to have others reap the harvest. Israel was living through one of its worst periods in history. The enemies would come, take everything they planted, and even capture women and children as slaves. This forced the people of Israel to leave their homes and live in caves in the mountains just to survive. As we can see in the following verses, the Midianites had a strong hold on Israel, and the hand of Midian overpowered Israel, and because of Midian the people of Israel made for themselves the dens that are in the mountains, and the caves and the strongholds. For whenever the Israelites planted crops, the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. They would encamp against them and devour the produce of the land, as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance in Israel and no sheep or ox or donkey, Judges 6 verses 2 to 4. So, Israel became very impoverished because of the presence of the Midianites. The people of Israel were in dire misery and terror, and this went on for 7 years. But, we can see in the first verse that there was a reason for all of this, but the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. In this passage, we can learn that sometimes, the desert experiences in our lives are there for our growth, to break our complacency, and to strengthen our faith. However, there are also deserts we create for ourselves by not obeying God, by doing our own will even when we know it's wrong. Consider this. When Israel could no longer bear this humiliating situation, they cried out to God, as we can see in verses 7 and 8, when the people of Israel cried out to the Lord on account of the Midianites, the Lord sent a prophet to the people of Israel. And he said to them, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I led you up from Egypt and brought you out of the house of slavery." Judges 6 verses 7 to 8. As we can see in these verses, God promised to deliver the people of Israel from their situation. However, God didn't deliver them with the snap of his fingers, like a magic trick. Let's continue with the story. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth at Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." Judges 6 verses 11 to 12. As we can see, God commanded an angel to visit a man named Gideon. This man was threshing wheat in a winepress, which was not the proper place for threshing wheat. The people of Israel were living in fear, unable to do their work openly because of the Midianites. They couldn't even harvest their crops without the Midianites taking everything. Women and children were being taken captive as slaves. In such a situation, Gideon was not willing to accept it. He continued to thresh wheat in the winepress, risking his life to provide for his family. God sent an angel to speak to Gideon, and the angel said, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." This shows us that God looked at Gideon's actions and saw qualities in him that made him a perfect candidate to work with. Gideon's actions caught God's attention. This teaches us how God operates. He doesn't perform miracles on his own, he requires our faith and participation. Since the beginning of time, God has worked with humans to accomplish his plans. Moses parted the Red Sea, but he had to raise his staff. David defeated Goliath, but he had to step forward with a sling and stone. Let's take a closer look at Gideon's response to the angel in Judges 6 verses 13 to 14, and Gideon said to him, Please, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonderful deeds that our fathers recounted to us, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and given us into the hand of Midian. Judges 6 verses 13 to 14. Gideon's reaction wasn't one of astonishment or blind faith. He questioned God, expressing his frustration with the current situation. In other words, he was saying, if the Lord is with us, why is our life like this? Where are the great deeds our ancestors told us about? It seems like the Lord has abandoned us and handed us over to the Midianites. Gideon's response was not disrespectful, it was an expression of his frustration and a challenge to God. He was essentially saying, if you're with me, why is everything so terrible? In response to Gideon's words, God said, Go in this might of yours and save Israel from the hand of Midian, do not I send you? Judges 6 verse 14. God recognized Gideon's inner strength and determination. He saw past Gideon's self-doubt and knew that Gideon had the potential to lead the Israelites to victory. This shows us that after the people cried out to God for help, God immediately sought someone capable of delivering them. However, God didn't perform an instant miracle. Instead, he chose to work through a person on earth. This teaches us about God's way of working. He doesn't work miracles in isolation. He requires the manifestation of our faith. Gideon was a man who, despite being in a difficult situation, refused to accept it passively. He didn't stay in the cave crying, he ventured out and took action to provide for his family, even risking his life. God sent an angel to speak to this kind of person. God looks for individuals who are not satisfied with the status quo, those who rebel against injustice, and those who have faith in him. So, which group do you belong to? Are you among the timid and fearful who back down when challenged? Are you part of those who settle for less and are content with mediocrity? Or are you among the rebels, those who refuse to accept a situation and demand change? Remember, God looks for those